What is up, adventurers, and welcome to another ShawnSetGO video. Today, kind of continuing along the same lines as we have in the past few videos, and that is talking about Mythic Plus and the woes and the problems. This one from Bellular. So let's jump into the video. Before we do, once again, thank you guys for supporting the page, and I can't thank you guys enough for being constant on this page. Of course, we haven't been streaming a whole bunch, but it's mainly because I haven't been feeling well, but we will jump back into the streaming. But let's jump into the video. So this is the video by Bellular from 4 days ago. It says Mythic Plus is unfixable and it's tearing WoW apart.
Yes, everyone, you read it right. It's unfixable. Its biggest problem simply cannot be solved, but I'm actually not being a doomer. I've come to realize that's great news, both for key pushers and dungeon dodgers.
I see what he's saying. I get it. You know, basically it's at a point where it's like, it's not at a point of fixing. It's like, we need to rethink about it. But I don't think WoW is currently in a state to where they're going to do a complete rework of how Mythic Plus is. I don't think it's bad enough to where that's going to actually happen. That's just my personal viewpoint on it. I think we're too scattered in the Mythic Plus argument. I think we need to stop being like, it's this, it's this, it's this, it's this. I think it's just, it's not fun. Right now, Mythic Plus is not fun to do. It's not the challenge. It's not the affixes. I don't even think it's people not inviting other people. I mean, those are part of it, right? You know, I'm not saying those don't exist, but I mean, it's just not fun. It's not enjoyable. The challenge isn't enjoyable. The rewards, like, I could care less. So
they're key pushers, they're mythic raiders, so it could be easy for people who aren't that to think, oh, it's just top-end complaints, they don't apply. But nah, they're right, they do apply, just not always directly. I've came to realize the whole system is inherently flawed, and I think it's actually an opportunity for Blizzard, an amazing one, not to fix Mythic Plus, but to embrace that it's broken right now, and to solve the entire thing. So
yeah, I mean, like, there's opportunities I think you have to fix things, and with a patch, you know, being built for next that's gonna completely you know, change what we're doing in game, at least for like a couple weeks, right? I think that now is the time to go, all right, you know, once that's being released, let's use that patch to fix it next patch. So I mean, like, at best, I think you're looking at like a season 3, you know, improving.
Well, obviously it's a lot, and it starts with the first step, deciding what to do. You see, delves cover early gearing in World of Warcraft faster than ever, so you'll probably only want to like go into a Mythic Plus like 6 or 7, right, and beyond. You won't have a key to start with, and starting a group is scary, especially if you're only beginning, so the obvious thing is to join a group. Well, that kind of can't be.
I think the other thing is delves skew your vision for how to approach mythics. To me, delves are like, doing the content in delves doesn't exactly translate. To me, delve content is very much like classic WoW difficulty, whereas Mythic Plus difficulty is on a different scale, and those things don't go well together. Putting a billion health on a mob doesn't make it equal the challenge of Mythic Plus.
Be done for most people. I mean, often you can't get into a group, at least not right away. It could take all evening, and it actually got so bad that
these were really bad. Yeah, there was a lot of these for a hot minute. People were doing the protests. These were mostly just like people who didn't get invited to like the high keys, who were suboptimal specs. But some people were doing it even though they were to kind of protest it. It was kind of a Reddit thing.
In-game protests over just finding a key to do. Theoretically, those were aimed at Blizzard's class balance, but the deeper truth is people were protesting each other, right? Players are only interested.
And I think this works well for Blizzard because when people are working against each other, then they're not mad at Blizzard, they're mad at each other.
In inviting meta specs, but there's a reason there. It does mean, though, that if you play something that isn't...
Ooh, where am I? Okay. All right. Life is good. 5.7. Jesus. Jeez Louise. Man. Yeah, there's clear. Like some like Rogue. Dear Lord. Even Shaman's pretty bad. Even though Shaman has pretty good specs all around.
The meta spec, your acceptance rate just plummets. And the same goes if you're playing a DPS as well, right? Very few people are interested in playing tanks or healers at the end of the day, and for good reason. They do at least twice the work of a DPS. And even if you make your own group to skip the whole invite phase, you're sat there waiting on a tank or healer anyway. And the problem is worse again if you're actually doing keys that are appropriate for your Mythic Plus score or your gear level, and you're trying to improve yourself, because somebody who eclipses your score and item level will always take your spot. So you either suck it up and you play a meta.
I don't know if there's a way for like LFG to have a better system, because like rating is a reflection of what you've done, and gearing is a reflection of what you've gotten away with. So I don't think there's a way to make LFG more appropriate. The only thing I can think of is rewarding groups more for you like inviting somebody who is suboptimal, or maybe who's been waiting in the queue longer. Like rewarding people who take a chance on somebody. Maybe.
The spec, you learn to tank, you learn to heal, or you get lucky, and finally it's time to play. Or should I say, to roll the dice, because you might get a dream run, that'll go well, but it might just be hell. The tank pulls the first pack, but no kicks go out. A DPS dies. They blame the healer, they leave, and...
Especially in this dungeon, I know that I need to pull the first mob as well as the dragon that's just down that hallway, but it's like nobody else gets the memo. So I type it out, and then anytime I type it out, people are like, yeah, we know.
To play. Or should I say, to roll the dice, because you might get a dream run, that'll go well, but it might just be hell. The tank pulls the first pack, but no kicks go out. A DPS dies. They blame the healer, they leave, and you're back to square one. All your time wasted. It could have taken so long to get into that group, and that's an Alt F4 moment. You're gone and you don't want to come back. And of course the thing here is, you can't tell if your group's going to be successful. That's the root cause. Everybody who's played Mythic Plus has that scar. They've experienced doomed runs that have ruined their evening and set them back. People don't want it to happen again, so of course people will only invite the best players using the data they have. What is somebody's spec? What is their item level? What is their score? Now those all sound readily solvable, but that's kind of the problem. We're stuck here chasing the first order problems, but it's actually the foundations that are rotting. Is that just doomer talk? Well, let's try to fix.
Yeah, it's really the root of it's poor dungeon design. A lot of people have a high tolerance for it, and like a lot of people in my past video, when I mentioned Theater of Pain, they're like, oh yeah, you know, it's not a problem, I'll do Theater of Pain, I'll grind it. And I'm like, yeah, I get it, but it still doesn't make it fun.
Them, and we'll learn why. Fixing it without changing it. I mean, hey, step one, just balance it, right? Stop making meta specs, Blizzard. That's a very silly thing to do. I mean, there's an issue there. It's always impossible. There's always going to be a spec that is the best. Blizzard could crush the skill ceiling, raise the skill floor, homogenize utility, homogenize damage profiles, but there's always going to be something that's a bit better, especially with Mythic Plus's endless scaling, and if they squish everything to be the same, the game will just be bland, man. And that's just the thing with endless scaling. At some point, no matter how Blizzard balances it, one spec will be necessary to counter the extremes of scaling.
I'm gonna say, I personally think we need to stop with just scaling stuff, and there needs to be like an established point system. I think that there needs to be like basically, if you do this, you get more points. And leaderboards, or how much you get kind of adds into it. You know, I think that establishing a different system besides timing needs to be implemented.
A perfect example, the racial imbalance. At the lower levels, healers can just crush it and heal through certain dots. But you know when actually players are pushing up to something crazy like a 16? Well, the dots start to almost kill in a single tick. So the solution is to race change to a dwarf, of course for stone form, which is an instant self-dispel. That makes the dungeon actually possible in that context. Not just easier, possible, because they hit that hard.
50% health.
Obviously that's not necessary to Mythic Plus 7, but it does kind of help, doesn't it? And so it slowly becomes the meta, and even where it's absolutely not necessary, as a player just playing regular World of Warcraft, you're going to feel it. Blizzard could make the meta less impactful, but there's always going to be a meta. Nobody's solved it in gaming. As soon as people hit a wall, they will optimize who they invite. Step Step 2, let's just increase the amount of tanks and healers so that we get more runs happening. I mean, hey, if we bribe DPS to swap over, well, actually, we're bribing them. They won't have fun. So let's try to make the lives of support players a bit less hell. As an example, tanks. I mean, you guys bear all the responsibility to route the dungeon, pull the mobs, position the mobs, and you end up doing the lion's share of mob management. I mean, others could help, but you guys do it. Healers bear all the responsibility for health bars, so maybe let's fix that by lowering incoming damage, reducing dispels, scaling health bars, and tweaking mob packs. And you may think, great, that's fixed. But, not really. Do you remember this loading screen tip in the game?
I'm gonna say something controversial, I think. I don't think healing is hard. I think healing is actually easy, but dungeons are designed to make it impossible. Because I don't think the opportunity, it's not that the healer's not healing or they're not healing enough. It's that they're designed to where you gotta be like pinpoint a response, or there's no time for you to humanly respond. I don't know. Forget I said anything.
If you make it easier to keep your health bar above 0, but you don't change the difficulty of the dungeon, well, what are you going to do? You're going to have to make bringing the enemy's health bar down harder.
What's the solution, Bellular?
If tanks and healers end up having it easier, and DPS really is what defines a win or a loss, then, well, the DPS will need to do more damage. But how do you do more damage beyond that? Well, inevitably, it leads to the tanks being forced to pull harder and harder, and that brings us back to
I like this, this details. This looks cool.
Square one.
I like that.
And if the game just was to say, no, have you...
Hold on, I don't want to be rude. I'm like, this looks nice, and I'm not even showing it at all. There it is. Okay, it looks nice. It's really cool. Actually, I've never seen it like that.
If you pull 2 packs, you instantly die. That would be awful. So no matter what, with the current design, responsibility will always land on the shoulders of the tanks and the healers. That's just the way it is. Even if it's clear.
My suggestion for this is giving members either something that's a healer support, like DPS a healer support, or a tank support. Like a rogue using tricks, you know, like having something that is a key utility to make it easier for only that purpose. Maybe they get some sort of DPS buff out of it. Damn, that Warlock's about to die.
Really say the DPS refusing to use their interrupts or their stuns. For as long as WoW's existed, death has been a healing problem. And
the interrupts thing, I feel like we've talked about it 1,000 times. It's the fact that you interrupt something and they cast it again anyways.
That's just how healers feel, and that's why there's not a lot of them in the queue. Step 3 then. Fix the group trust issue. Well, that's kind of hard because gets to the heart of a very long-running problem in World of Warcraft. You've probably seen this video from Folding Ideas that came out a while ago, and it highlights our main issues here. When you suck, you know, you're wasting people's time. And it doesn't help that Blizzard have designed Mythic Plus to double down on how much you've wasted people's time. I mean, there's the responsibility ratio. In a heroic raid, you can survive a few mistakes, but in a 5-man dungeon, oh, that's tight. You can't. There's only a few people. It's rude to suck in a Mythic raid, but it's much more rude to suck in a Mythic Plus. There's fewer people. Everybody's got more responsibility.
This is gonna give me more hate, I'm sure. Mythic Plus should not be the end game content, and people who think it is are wrong. It just shouldn't be.
And the penalty is way higher than just respawn and corpse run. And that brings me to the difficulty split. LFR is...
Let's go back a second.
Help the Blizzard have designed Mythic Plus to double down on how much you've wasted people's time. I mean, there's the responsibility.
I want to see if it's a tank
In
salt.
a heroic raid, you can survive a few mistakes, but in a 5-man dungeon, oh, that's tight. You can't. There's only a few people. It's rude to suck in a Mythic raid, but it's much more rude to suck in a Mythic Plus. There's...
That's got to be a positioning thing.
Fewer people. Everybody's got more responsibility.
I feel like that's an interrupt thing or positioning thing.
Way higher than just respawn and corpse run. And that brings me to the difficulty split. LFR
yeah, I'm gonna blame the tank. I'm gonna blame the tank.
Huge. You actually have guaranteed success. Normal is a step up, but it still is a cakewalk if you've got a few people who know the fight. Heroic, well, that does need more people to know the fight, but Mythic, well, that's an entirely different kettle of fish, right? Different game mode entirely. 20 players, fixed, locked to a single ID. It is almost unpuggable. Most people therefore cap out at Heroic because they look at Mythic and they will instantly know if that sort of gameplay is or is not for them. It's binary, you know. But not with Mythic Plus. It's the same system the whole way up. And this is where the problem starts. You finish gearing from Delve.
It starts very low too. Like it starts a lot lower than it should. Like at least with rating, you feel like you have a shot up until about heroic. With Mythics, like it starts super low.
Or outdoor content, but your gear isn't finished. The game's reward system literally says, hey, oh, you can get 2 more upgrade levels if you just get some gilded crests. Where are you going to get those?
Isn't this a shame? How like you could get 6 out of 8 and then you get hero and then you're just like, oh, I'm not going to truly get better till 5 out of 6.
A mythic raid? No, you're not going to be pugging those, especially
so bad.
if you're, say, a Delves player. That's how you're gearing your
it's
characters.
so poorly designed.
And the goal of WoW is to get more gear, so...
If you like this, I would like you to explain to me why and how this is good. How does it feel good to go from one track, say you're 7 out of 8, and you go, all right, I got champ, all right? It's not going to get better until I get 5 out of 8. Okay, it was reasonable. I had plenty of crests. It's not too bad. You get 7 out of 8 again. Most likely 6 out of 8, but probably, yeah, 6 or 7 out of 8. And then you go, I am going to upgrade this over the course of 2 weeks. And now I finally have a slight upgrade.
What's going to happen? Raid or Mythic Plus? Raid's a bigger time commitment, but
bring back loot tables.
Heroic is reliably a puggable thing. So maybe with that done, you're left with the game pushing you into Mythic Plus, the only place to go. Even Ian has said in interviews that he knows the Delves.
Look at all their faces. My God.
Are dropping hero.
My man is perplexed.
Geared people into 6s and 7s from Delves, but they haven't worked their way up and they really struggle. So maybe the issue isn't actually with Mythic Plus. Maybe it's that these people are doing Mythic Plus. They shouldn't be. WoW shouldn't put them there. So here's the deal. This is an excellent talk, one of many from marketing legend Rory Sutherland. And one thing that stuck with me is how we so often get trapped. We see a problem, we try to solve the problem directly, instead of imagining how to go around the problem or above the problem. Here's an example that he often uses.
It's the argument of make the problem, sell the solution. Like that's the idea.
Train journeys. Instead of trying to hyper-optimize the speed of the train journey by a few more minutes, how about you instead just try to make the journey a bit more pleasant? I mean, nobody's going to be absolutely mad if their commute is just a little smidge longer if the commute itself is a good experience. And the reason why this is important is because making a train go faster could cost hundreds of millions. In the UK, probably billions or trillions. And it's not going to guarantee success. It's an unknown engineering.
For those of you who don't know, the UK train system sucks. It's for the most part, it's like a credit card pay, but a lot of it is isolated to train areas that you have to pay like just flat prices for. It sucks.
Problem. But
like fixed prices for like no kidding,
known quantity.
One way,
so let's bring it to
80, 90
Plus,
euro.
Lest you all start getting memories of Grimrail Depot. Instead of spending loads of time and effort balancing meta specs, and hey, do actually spend time to make the game balanced, obviously, but as we talked about, that can never truly be fixed. Why not think outside the box? Here's what that kind of looks like. If inviting is a problem, instead of fixing the invites, skip the invites entirely. Make Mythic Plus a solo queue. That may seem insane, but there are now.
Don't. Please don't. Don't appease the solo. Please don't.
Natural breakpoints to cut that off. Maybe it's Mythic plus 10 because that's where the affixes become fixed. Maybe you set up a rated queue from a +2 to a +10 because look, all that you need to know is, are the people I'm being mixed in with good at the game? Are they supposed to be here? Well, the matchmaking system can actually do that. If somebody is in your 10, you know they've at least timed a 9, and you're all going to have to get on with it anyway. Rather than an incentive for right-clicking, leaving party, hearthing away, and finding a new key, well, Blizzard could actually punish you by saying, you don't get into the queue, you're
Yeah, don't. I think this has been a problem of Blizzard as of late, which is let's punish bad behavior instead of making bad behavior less than good behavior, or making it less incentivizing. If someone knows that if they return a $20 bill to the person that they're gonna get 10 of those dollars, they're gonna be more inclined to to take it, you know, like, so if someone knows that if you stick in a group, you're going to be rewarded, it's going to be more worthwhile than if you don't, then it's great, you know, but the incentives aren't there. It's like, it's you're better off not wasting your 20 or so minutes trying to make this work. And there's nothing really making people want to do that. So it's like, you might as well just take the hit and move on. I think that the argument that a lot of people used to use is, for example, with League and surrender voting. A lot of people are going to say that it's my time. I want to choose how I spend it. I don't want to waste my time in a game. My honestly thought is that there shouldn't be a surrender. You signed up to play this game. There is no surrender. Like you play the game. Just play the game. Sign up to play the game. Make it work. A loss is a loss, but you like leaving the game. It's silly. So like to me, there shouldn't be a surrender voting type of thing. You're just a leaver or you're not.
Treating people badly. Maybe that begins to mend things. Now, the +12 and beyond, key pushing meta slave land that actually people love because it's fun to push things to the extreme. Well, that'll still exist. It'll be just like Mythic raiding is today, where if you're a heroic raider, yeah, you know, normal, LFR, normal through heroic, that's all one big curve. But Mythic, everybody knows it's a different kettle of fish. That doesn't happen in Mythic Plus. With a system like this, well, guess what?
I said that kettle of fish phrase a bunch of times. Is that a real phrase?
It actually would. You should make solo queuing the default way for pug players. And what's vital is that the matchmaking is actually based on what the system knows people can do. You just need to design it well. So many other games have done this. Then there's the keys themselves.
I think what he's saying is basically make it more pug friendly. Basically have people auto accept into a dungeon. Like there's not really a selection system. You queue up and you have your group of 5. I don't think that would incentivize people to not leave, though. I think people would just see their group and go, yeah, this isn't happening, and they would leave it. I think inevitably you have to make those classes that are suffering more just turn on their class scroll, you know.
They've got to change. Maybe Key should just die, but for sure one thing needs to die, and that's depletion. What the hell is depletion? I mean, now that keys can manually be depleted, it's just that last layer of punishment that is stubborn and almost a bit sadistic. No other part of WoW punishes you for failure by setting your progress back. I mean, maybe the corpse run's a bit bad, but come on, that's peanuts to depletion. Depletion sucks. Removing that would reduce how goddamn miserable it can feel to fail. And we've all seen people's comments online. World of Warcraft makes them anxious and unhappy so often, even though they actively want to play the game because they fundamentally like.
Another controversial idea. I think that instead of key depletion, you fail a key, the key should allow you to do it again, and you get a bonus, or like you get a buff until you clear it. The rewards maybe aren't there, but like I don't know.
And they want to achieve their goals.
It's stupid.
And we've got another issue too. Long queue times for tanks and healers. We could try to get creative with that. I mean, tanks and healers are responsible for everything, while DPS are only responsible for their damage. How could we possibly rebalance this? Well, Blizzard kind of already knows how. They use Kiss Curse mechanics, and they can do that to make DPS players do things other than mash keys.
Put Bran in there whenever someone leaves. That's the solution, I think.
Here's a great example. In Final Fantasy XIV, yeah, the other MMO, the devs saw the DPS players were just standing in the fire because
this is probably why I could never play this game. Just to me, this is just so visually unappealing. I don't know why. I think I'm jaded.
Well, they could just get some more damage off and parse better. So to solve this, they added damage downs. As in, if you get hit, you'll do less damage. You'll get a debuff. And Blizzard, that's the point. You need to align incentives with the desired behavior, because with damage downs, the mistakes of a DPS player will hurt their DPS, the thing that they care about, not only just their health, the thing that the healer cares about. And that means that it's the DPS player's problem, not just the healer's problem. And that aligns incentives within the group. I mean, perhaps if you don't have a defensive ability up for a certain boss, maybe it stuns you, maybe you get a haste decrease, and that means that, again, your incentives are aligned with your healer and your tank as a DPS player.
As a tank, I would say what would be nice is they would make clear distinctions between tanking phases and damage phases. It'd be nice to know when I can, within the game, you know when to like unload damage versus when I'm like, instead of just random huge spikes of damage. So I always have to have my mitigation up 100%, because it gets so frustrating. I want clear distinctions between the two, because I don't get to have any fun within the fights at all.
So many specs already get tiny bonuses for interrupts. Why don't we take that and go radically further than ever before?
Many times we use the term active mitigation to refer to a move tank has to be made to actively reduce incoming damage. Seems simple enough. Well, sort of the term active mitigation actually means something different than active mitigation. Specific ability tank must use to counter specific boss abilities. Yeah. So it's like, it's basically that defensive, you know, that one thing, the thing is probably going to one-shot you if you don't have defenses up. But I would say it's more of like passive mitigation isn't just like the things that happen automatically without your action. It's like the stuff you do just regularly, whereas active mitigation is popping your shield wall.
Blizzard, the world is your oyster. You need to see outside of the prison you've locked yourself in, and you need to dare to try. But here's the thing, even that's not enough, because we all know what it's like when the worst happens, when you encounter one of those people, right? The people who know nothing, who deflect blame, who rage, the people that you could sort of say are the unteachables. Can we fix that? Can we teach them? I think the answer is no and yes, yes and no. You see, World of Warcraft is awful at teaching people how to succeed in Mythic Plus. The community, we all say it. But that's actually not new. Just about no competitive games really do that. There's no Valorant University in the game that's proper. Player improvement comes from what folding ideas, as Dan Old.
Difference is, like a PvP game, yeah, it makes sense because you have people actively competing against you. Like in a Mythic Plus, it doesn't make sense.
And rightly labeled
You're designed, it should be designed for you to win.
Literary brain. Paratext is basically just external sources. If somebody wants to learn Mythic Plus, they can. They'll be tuning into the pod you see in the regular, just like how, yeah, you can find resources online and know, what do you buy in the shop in League of Legends? How does one even do a Valorant? The struggle, though, is that some people don't want to learn. Even if we laid out the resources, they wouldn't do it. So let's take another inspiration from Rory Sutherland and try to go around or above the problem. Maybe we'll even burrow beneath it. If our problem is that some people don't want to learn Mythic Plus, why would you bother trying to teach them? The solution is that people...
I think a majority of people just don't do it. I don't think the majority of people who don't want to learn are in your keys. I think most people are willing to learn to get through it. I just think majority of people aren't going to do it.
People should not be playing Mythic Plus if they in no way really want to and couldn't be bothered to learn. Nobody benefits from them being there, including them. Ian said in a recent interview that they want to keep incentives for people to graduate to group content. Look, Ian, I respect you, not an attack. I think you're just holding on to some old wisdoms, and that's totally fair and okay because, I mean, goddamn, the same for me. World of Warcraft's an old game. It's been around for such a long time. How do we even know what's right or wrong anymore? I've got to admit that's probably what keeps the dev team actually up at night. But here's the thing, I think in the current gearing system, Delve scaling up to reward, I don't know, just shy of myth items from the vault, it could almost make perfect sense if you just let Delves be really hard and have a proper progression track. I mean, yeah, it would be different, but Delvers are going into Mythic Plus, and they're absolutely hating it. And that's wreaking havoc in the people who act...
Nope. Give Delvers a way to exist in their version of gameplay, just like PvP is separate from PvE. I used to have an opinion of like make it try to like merge into Mythic. I don't think that's the way anymore. I think it's keep Delvers in delving and keep them happy. You know, it pads the player base. But I think there needs to be a distinction between delving gear, like a strong distinction between delving gear and like Mythic Plus gear and raiding gear. Personally.
Actually like Mythic Plus. So let's let people achieve their goals by doing the content that they...
This is coming from somebody, by the way, who really missed back in the day when I was doing PvP and Burning Crusade, that I got into PvE, and it was super enjoyable. And I quickly started doing both. I miss being able to easily transition from one to the other.
Let's nudge people up their comfort zone within Delves, rather than trying to kick them out of their desire zone into Mythic Plus, lured by gear. That doesn't make sense. They'll never enjoy it. They'll never learn it, even if we put all the time and effort in the world into making resources. Let's not throw people into the deep end of content they don't like. Either that, or perhaps rework gear. Who knows? If the gearing system somehow offered a satisfying way for somebody to reach Mythic Plus 5, be happy with a dungeon as it is like that, and just feel that they could...
I just like, how does anyone look at this and then look at like a system like Classic and look at like Atlas loot and think this is better? I look at those Atlas drop trees and I look at them and wonder. I'm like, gosh, it'd be crazy if that thing dropped. I look at this and I get depressed.
Stop, that would be great. But that's not how WoW's gear is designed. And by now you'll have noticed the clear pattern. I'm not talking about, oh, this is what we need to do to evokers to fix the immediate problem. These are the big picture things, systems, incentives, not actually fixing Mythic Plus itself. Why am I not trying to fix Mythic Plus in a video about fixing Mythic Plus? Look, there's a reason for that. Mythic Plus is good. When it works, it really works. When
I disagree.
you're in lockstep with a group
I don't have a full thought. Disagree.
of people, maybe a pug. Probably not, but whatever. It pushes WoW's excellent combat and class design to the limits. There's nothing else like it. And personally, it's not for me. That's
Okay, so dungeons, now I have a thought. Dungeons originally were a way for you to group together to do content that you couldn't do alone, to get gear that you can't get through questing, or in order to do it through questing, it's rare and very far between. Now with so many sources of gear, and now with that everybody is their own one-man army with delves, neither of those things exist. So why does Mythic Plus exist? Mythic Plus exists for competition between players. That's all it is. It's competition between players, because you don't need Mythic Plus for raiding. You can transition easily from delves to raiding. I can see that very much, because there is that padding, there is that room. So why does Mythic Plus exist? It doesn't have those things that the reason why dungeons exist anymore. The fact that you do it in a group is just superfluous. It doesn't really matter. So I think Mythic Plus needs to redefine what it's about, because it's no longer what it used to be about. And that's why, to me, Mythic Plus, even in a good state, won't be good.
It's actually okay. It might not be for you either. World of Warcraft has got plenty of things for me to like say raids. I love raiding, I always have. So Blizzard, don't gut Mythic Plus or try to make some strange one-size-fits-all solution so that I can go and do it and gear up a character. Don't damage delves to force people into Mythic earlier, right? Don't do that. We need to go above the problem. We need to target the desire that causes the behavior that leads to the problem, that leads to all the symptoms that players feel. And to make Mythic Plus itself better, I know you guys listen to Max, Jack, Putty C, Dratnos, and friends, all of them. They're your guys to go to for the deep specifics. But perhaps before you hit those details, consider this. Tanks are kinda too weak and imbalanced. The difficulty curve is really steep. Races being or feeling mandatory is really dumb. Getting 5 crests instead.
Every class, when optimally played or optimally geared, should be able to carry a class. That's my honest thought. I don't care if you're DPS, you're a healer, tank. In your role, you should be able to carry another class, like lift another class up when played well. So
instead of 12 for
it should be the mindset looking into class design. That's my thought of it.
Deplete is brutal. Depletes are brutal and stupid and needlessly sadistically punishing. People have already lost their time and not achieved their goal and not got as many crests. Some dungeons are fine, but others are a nightmare. There's a lot of difference there. But the number one complaint people have is other people ruining the experience for them. That's the number one problem. The number one reason why people can't actually play Mythic Plus when they want to. Because if you make the right changes, those problem players, the people who are just in Mythic Plus for gear without actually wanting to respect.
I don't play healer, and all of that looked awful. I know this boss fight. I mean, it's simple, right? You spread out and you destroy the pillars because they're gonna get exploded. That looked terrible. Not their gameplay. I'm just saying, like, that just looks exceedingly unfun.
Back to the game mode so that even if you try to train them, they won't listen. Well, If the
It's
game
gotta be
lets
stressful
them
for a healer too.
select out of the Mythic Plus player base, that will heal the ecosystem. People will slowly begin to have more understanding and willingness and faith that actually they can do a Mythic Plus and they won't get some who bricks their key and wastes their time. Keep Mythic Plus as a beloved pillar of World of Warcraft endgame. Don't stress yourself in fixing its immediate problems, because if all of your effort goes there, we're not going to see the big picture. Think outside the box. See those problem players?
I mean, I agree with what he's saying as a whole. I just disagree with a lot of the points trying to say that that Mythic Plus is good. I think that it needs a full rework, either in its aims or what it's trying to do and achieve. I just don't think that it achieves what it sets out to be. So I just I don't know. I've already said a lot on this, so I feel like I don't want to talk no more. So I hope y'all enjoyed the video. I mean, I hope this was informative. Of course, you know, credit to Bellular for looking into a lot of this stuff and saying what he had to say. I think that there was a lot of positive that can be derived from it. What are your thoughts on Mythic Plus state? But my main question for everybody is, what is missing from Mythic Plus that needs to be there? So hope y'all enjoyed the video. I'll catch you on the next one. Please do subscribe to the YouTube page as well as the Twitch stream, twitch.tv/ShawnSetGO. I'll be streaming there, playing both retail and classic. And so I'll catch y'all in there. But until next time, catch you in the next one. Peace.